On the Qixi Festival, an ancient and romantic day, the love story of Niulang and Jinyu sparkled weakly but firmly in the night sky. However, this night, which should have belonged to love and commitment, became an unhealable star in my heart. My wife, Lu Yanran, used to be the brightest star in my eyes. We met on the university campus. At that time, she was like a lotus in bud, pure and noble. She conquered everyone's heart with a song Dongfeng at the campus cultural festival, including me. Our love was like a beautiful poem from then on, written by us together. After graduation, I gave up the opportunity to inherit the family business and chose to start a business with Lu Yanran. We watered our dreams with our youth and sweat, and the company grew rapidly under our joint efforts, and our life became increasingly beautiful. However, with the appearance of Jiboda, all the goodness began to change quietly. Jiboda was Lu Yanran's high school classmate, a smart and charming young man. I recruited him into the company, hoping that he could become my right-hand assistant. However, his joining became a discordant note in our marriage. Lu Yanran began to pay more attention to her appearance, her perfume smell, her dressing style, and even the tone of her voice when she talked to me, all changed unconsciously. On the Qixi Festival, I was looking forward to a romantic dinner with Lu Yanran, but I received a call from the hospital. When I saw the news that Lu Yanran and Jiboda were found naked and unconscious in the car at the hospital, my heart sank to the bottom instantly. I spent a sleepless night on the bench in the hospital, filled with doubts and pain. In the face of the doctor's inquiry, I lied that I was just an ordinary friend, provided the contact information of Lu Yanran's father, and then left the hospital in a hurry. I couldn't face the possible explanation from Lu Yanran when she woke up, nor could I face the complex emotions surging in my heart. Back home, I was immersed in the smoke, recalling our bits and pieces. From acquaintance to love, from entrepreneurship to marriage, we have experienced countless tests, but we never expected to face such a severe challenge on such a night. I tried to find the answer in the smoke, but only felt deeper confusion and helplessness. The next day, Lu Yanran returned home. She frowned at the smell of smoke in the living room. I asked her about her whereabouts last night, and she calmly explained that Jiboda had fainted, and she had taken care of him in the hospital all night. There was no guilt in her words, only an elusive calm. I didn't expose her lie, but my doubts deepened. Lu Yanran tried to make up for the vacancy last night with a kiss, but I subconsciously avoided it. Her lips no longer had the warmth of the past, and her hug also lost the tenderness it once had. I felt an unprecedented strangeness and distance. That night, I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. I knew that our relationship had reached a critical point, and I needed to make a decision. But before that, I needed more evidence and needed to know the truth of the matter. The next day, I didn't go to the company, but went to Lu Yanran's company. I wanted to see with my own eyes the interaction between her and Jiboda, and wanted to find evidence of their betrayal of me. However, when I saw Jiboda's intimate behavior towards Lu Yanran and the tacit understanding between them, I knew that it was too late. I left the company silently and returned to the small home that once was full of love. I knew that I needed time to deal with all this and a calm mind to face the upcoming storm. I opened our common photo album and flipped through it page by page. Every photo was our common memory, but now it has become the sharpest thorn in my heart. On this Qixi festival night, I sat alone on the balcony, looking up at the starry sky. The Altair and Vega still shone in the night sky, but my heart had fallen into the dark abyss. I didn't know how to go in the future, nor whether I could find my own starry sky. As time passed, the sense of distance between Lu Yanran and me became more and more obvious. I began to doubt whether her feelings for me were still as sincere as before, or whether she just stayed by my side out of habit. Whenever it was dead of night, I would always think of the scene in the hospital, which was like a thorn deeply embedded in my heart. I tried to communicate with Lu Yanran to find the cracks in our relationship. I hoped that we could be honest with each other and face and solve the problem together. However, she always evaded with the excuse of being busy at work, and even started to come home late, sometimes simply staying at the company overnight. I began to suspect that there was someone else in her heart. One night, I accidentally found Lu Yanran's forgotten mobile phone at home. Curiosity drove me to open her chat application, and the secrets inside were like Pandora's box being opened. Those ambiguous words completely shattered my trust. Every word Jiboda said was full of desire and possession for her, and Lu Yanran's response, although implicit, was enough to make me feel cold. I decided to leave this home and give each other a chance to calm down. I needed time to sort out my thoughts and space to calm my emotions. I packed a few clothes into a suitcase and prepared to go back to my parents' house for a temporary stay. Lu Yanran seemed confused and at a loss about this. She didn't understand why our marriage had come to an end all of a sudden. On my birthday, Lu Yanran didn't come home, just sent a message telling me that she had a client to entertain and asked me not to wait for her. I was alone, facing the cold room and the untouched cake, filled with bitterness. This day, which should have been full of laughter, became my deepest sorrow. I saw Jiboda's status on the Moments, the intimate photo of him and the woman in a bar. Although the woman was blurred, I still recognized that it was Lu Yanran. Their smiles were so bright, but they deeply hurt my heart. I knew that I had to let go and end this nominal marriage. The next day, I proposed divorce to Lu Yanran. She was shocked, puzzled, and even tried to deny everything. I told her that I had seen everything, her betrayal, her lies, and I could no longer trust her. She tried to explain, but I was no longer willing to listen. Every word she said became an excuse and cover-up in my ears. We agreed to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to handle the divorce procedures after the general meeting of shareholders. At the meeting, I announced that I would give up all my shares and transfer them all to Lu Yanran. She seemed surprised by this, but soon accepted it. I knew that she valued the company more than our marriage. After the general meeting of shareholders, I walked alone on the way home, filled with complex emotions. I thought of our past, our present, and our future. I felt a deep sense of powerlessness and loss, but at the same time, there was also a hint of relief. Back home, I began to sort out the traces of our common life. Every photo, every item, carried our memories. I put them away one by one, ready to seal them up. In the process, I found a letter that Lu Yanran wrote to me but never sent. In the letter, she expressed her love for me and her expectations for the future, but also revealed her confusion and bewilderment. I read the letter quietly, feeling mixed emotions. I realized that our marriage was not without love, but in the impact of reality, we forgot how to love, how to communicate, and how to understand each other. I put the letter back in its original place and decided to give myself and Lu Yanran one last chance, a candid conversation. At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lu Yanran and I had the final talk. We talked about our past, our present, and our future. I told her that I hoped she could find true happiness, whether it was related to me or not. She cried, and her tears contained regret and helplessness. In the end, we signed the divorce agreement and ended our marriage. When we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sun shone on our faces, and I felt an unprecedented relief. I knew that although our love had ended, life continued, and I needed to move forward bravely. After the divorce, I was like a broken kite, drifting aimlessly in the vast sky. The pain in my heart needed time to heal, and the journey became my way of self-healing. I carried a simple backpack with a camera that recorded the scenery and embarked on a journey to find inner peace. My first stop was a vast grassland, where there was endless green and cattle and sheep running freely. I stayed with a herdsman's family. During the day, I herded sheep with them, and at night, I sat around the bonfire, listening to them tell the legends and stories of the grassland. The vastness of the grassland made me feel my insignificance, and also made me realize that all the troubles in life were just a drop in the ocean in this world. There, I learned to ride a horse and felt the thrill of galloping like the wind, as if all my worries had gone with the wind. I also tried to participate in the daily life of the herdsman, from milking to making cheese, from building tents to participating in festival celebrations. These simple and pure labors made me temporarily forget the hustle and bustle of the city and the trauma of my heart. By chance, I met a group of photography enthusiasts on the edge of the grassland. They were preparing to go to a remote ancient town for shooting. I was infected by their enthusiasm and decided to join them and embark on a new journey together. The ancient town had a long history, and every stone on the slate road was engraved with the traces of time. I held the camera and recorded the dawn, afternoon, and night of the ancient town. Every photo carried my new understanding and perception of life. In the small tavern of the ancient town, I met Lin Yu, a girl who also loved traveling and photography. Her smile was like the sunshine of the ancient town, warm and bright. We shared the stories of our journeys, and her love for life and curiosity about the unknown deeply attracted me. Lin Yu told me that her dream was to travel to every corner of the world and record the beauty that was forgotten by time. As time went by, Lin Yu and I became friends who could talk about everything. We explored every corner of the ancient town together and took pictures of the cultural heritage that was about to disappear. Under the starry sky one night, we sat side by side on the city wall of the ancient town, looking up at the stars, talking about our dreams and the future. Lin Yu asked me, "Xiaofan, why did you start this journey?" I thought for a moment and replied, "I want to find myself and the meaning of life." She gently held my hand and said, "I believe you will find it, because everyone's life is a journey. What matters is not the destination, but the scenery along the way and the mood of enjoying the scenery." On the last day in the ancient town, Lin Yu and I participated in a local traditional festival together. We wore traditional clothes and sang and danced with the locals, feeling their enthusiasm and happiness. That night, I wrote in my diary, "Maybe life doesn't need too many reasons, just like this journey. I don't need a specific destination, I just need to keep going." As the journey continued, my heart gradually calmed down. I began to learn to let go of the past, accept the reality, and also rediscover the beauty of life during the journey. I knew that although the future was full of unknowns, I was ready to meet new challenges and opportunities. During the journey, I gradually found the rhythm of life, and the trauma in my heart was slowly healing. However, fate seemed to always like to surprise or test people inadvertently. By chance, I unexpectedly met Lu Yanran in the market of the ancient town. That day, the sun shone through the eaves of the ancient town, casting mottled light and shadow on the slate road. The market was crowded with people, and the hawking of the vendors and the chatting and laughing of the tourists intertwined to create a lively and warm atmosphere. I was holding the camera, capturing the humanities and customs in the market, but caught a familiar figure in the lens. It was Lu Yanran. She was wearing an elegant dress, her hair was simply tied behind her head, and her face was filled with a touch of melancholy. She didn't seem to notice me, but was focused on selecting local handicrafts at a stall. I hesitated for a moment, not knowing whether I should step forward to say hello, but finally decided to stand quietly aside and observe her. Lu Yanran seemed to feel my gaze. She turned around, and our eyes met in the crowd. There was a flash of surprise in her eyes, followed by complex emotions. The air between us seemed to freeze, and the noise around gradually faded away, leaving only the sound of our heartbeats. She slowly walked towards me, with a forced smile on her face. "Shaofan, long time no see." I nodded and replied, "Yeah, Yanran, I didn't expect to meet you here." We found a quiet tea house and sat down, ordering a pot of local green tea. The tea house was filled with a faint tea fragrance, making people feel a kind of tranquility. We sat opposite each other, but didn't know where to start. After a moment of silence, Lu Yanran broke the silence. "Shaofan, I'm sorry for what happened in the past." I looked into her eyes, which once were full of love, but now were filled with regret and helplessness. "Let the past go. We should all look forward." Lu Yanran sighed and began to tell me about her and Jiboda. It turned out that Jiboda had always been a gambler. He embezzled public funds by taking advantage of his position, but Lu Yanran knew nothing about it. It wasn't until the company went bankrupt and the property was seized that she realized Jiboda's true face. Her life fell into kunjing, and she changed from a glamorous career woman to a person with nothing. I listened to her story, feeling mixed emotions. I felt sorry for her, but at the same time, I realized that the rift between us could no longer be mended. I told her that I had started a new life, had new friends and new experiences. After hearing this, she showed a hint of envy and loss in her eyes. We talked for a long time until the sun slanted westward and the customers in the tea house gradually dispersed. We got up and left, walking on the streets of the ancient town, enjoying the afterglow of the sunset. Lu Yanran suddenly stopped and looked at me. "Shaofan, can I take a look at the photos you took?" I handed her the camera, and she carefully flipped through each photo. With a smile on her face, "You take really good pictures, and every photo is full of stories." I smiled. "Photography is my new hobby. It allows me to see a different world." We said goodbye at the gate of the ancient town. Lu Yanran tightly held my hand. "Shaofan, thank you for being willing to listen to me." I gently patted her hand. "Yanran, take care and I hope you can find your own happiness." She nodded and turned to leave, disappearing into the crowd. I stood there, looking at her back, with an indescribable feeling in my heart. I knew that this reunion might be the last time we met, but I had already let go and was ready to continue my journey. Back at the hotel, I sat alone by the window, looking at the twinkling stars in the night sky. I thought of Lu Yanran, Ling Yu, and everyone I met during the journey. They were all part of my life, good or bad. They made me grow and made me cherish the present life more. I took out my notebook and began to record the experience and feelings of this day. I knew that these words would become precious memories of my life journey. And this unexpected reunion also made me more convinced that everyone's life has its unique trajectory, and I am walking on my own path.